Hi guys, welcome to Interior Insights. I'm Jane and we are standing in a 170 square meter loft in the center of Hamburg. The loft itself is located in an incredible piece of history in Hamburg. The building that we're standing in right now actually used to be one of the most prestigious theaters in Hamburg, and the building was built in 1890. If you love vintage design, this video is for you. Also, if you haven't yet, please make sure to subscribe. As we enter a very spacious open living room situation, and we can see that there is just an excess of space. The building, like I already mentioned, has been built in 1890, and these walls that we're standing right now used to be a prestigious historic theater. And in 1950, a furniture company called Kuba moved inside, and they pulled in a second ceiling, and we're right now standing actually in the gallery. The color palette of this apartment is very dark. We have these dark brown wooden beams that ground the space, paired with the dark colors of the sofas. It's absolutely incredible that the wooden beams that make up the floor are still the exact historic beams that have been put inside here in 1890. And you can see that they have just this incredible patina, and they are full of marks. And this apartment isn't your perfectly polished apartment, but rather every single piece of furniture and the whole history and charm of this apartment just speaks and screams of history. Everything has an incredible patina. The owner of this incredible vintage apartment is a photographer who spends his time here, and he also has an atelier here that I will show you later. And we can see that as we come in, we are just immersed in a vintage dream. Over here is the sofa area, and we can see that we have 4 pieces of one set of vintage black sofas standing, and they have this very old and beautiful patina, and they just create this very relaxed and dark atmosphere. The sofa area is framed by a Persian carpet that adds a pop of red. Exactly where I'm standing right now actually is where the airway and the open 2-story building of the theater was. And if we go a little bit over here, this is where the gallery used to be. And I think that it is just absolutely incredible that we have such a deep and rich history. The sofa area is marked by a lot of very dark colors. We have very low profile sofas that are very inviting and create this very relaxed atmosphere. The backdrop of the sofa area is a wall that has been painted in a dark, moody gray, and it just sets the tone for a kind of mysterious yet sophisticated atmosphere. And the 2 close-up portraits create a very graphic effect, and you feel like the room itself has a real personality and something in the room is looking back at you. So you just have this constant dialogue. The idea wasn't to create a perfect polished space, but to really create a history and a place with purpose and personality. For example, this wall is made up a lot of books that have mostly actually been read. I asked when I came here, and you can see that they've just loosely been placed on top of each other, and they themselves are their own little artwork. And this is just a very unconventional approach to design and creating a space that feels like home. But you know I love unconventional solutions. A lot of people are always scared of using dark colors in their design, but what happens when you use dark colors or when you paint a wall dark is that all of your furniture or everything standing inside the apartment really pops off of this dark background. And this just creates a much more bolder and fun design. We have a beautiful round orange lamp that gives off warm light to the top and the bottom. And whenever you have a lamp that throws light both to the top as well as to the bottom, it visually divides the space and creates an appearance of the space being even grander than it is. All the items that we have here were either sourced in vintage shops or have found their way to the photographer one way or another. Because artists live in this building, you actually are keeping this artistic and creative spirit alive. Wherever you look, you can just get lost in details for hours without an end. Over here, we have the dining area. We have a very big, long table that is made out of just simple wooden beams. These warm, natural, yet simple materials add this rustic, vintage, hearty charm. We have a small collection of different vintage chairs. Each of the shapes themselves is unique. And here we just have this very old, very authentic cabinet, and you can see all of these German words written on it, like rice, for example. Before I show you the atelier and the bedroom, which is just an artwork by itself, let me show you the kitchen. Come with me. So this is the kitchen, and as we've already learned in this apartment, nothing is ordinary and everything has an incredibly unique history. It has actually been produced by the photographer himself. It took a while to figure out how to make your own concrete kitchen, but the result is just incredible. And here we just have one gigantic slab of concrete that has been poured, and it looks very substantial. And the bottom of the kitchen are just clean panels of wood that have been painted by the daughter of the photographer. When I saw the kitchen, I did not expect that it was just basically a DIY project that just turned out really well. And the challenge with this side was that you also had to incorporate a sink. And even though this kitchen only is 16 years old, the strength of the water that comes out from the tap every day has managed to pour its own little rivers and to really engrave the stone and the cement. So here we have two dices that I just found, and I think that they're really funny. Basically, if you roll the dice, you either have to do a chore or you get to do something fun like watching TV. And this is just a great hack if you have kids and need to get them to do some chores. Now, let me show you the atelier part. Oh, but before, let me show you the bathroom. So this is the bathroom, and when this apartment was rented, the bathroom actually had a much smaller size. So it was completely opened up and turned into a fully functional and livable space. We have a bathtub that is freestanding and has just these beautiful old silver feet, and they're very charming. And this just again creates a completely unique design out of elements that originally were just repurposed. And somebody just found them and thought, ooh, I can turn this into something else. So this is the atelier, and we can see that this is just one grand, mostly empty space where you can really unleash your creativity. We again have the same dark wooden floor that is in the rest of the apartment, and the floor is also original and again from 1890. For a certain period of time, this part of the apartment was actually used as a salsa studio. And when the photographer rented it, he thought, like, why should I throw out all of these incredible mirrors? And you can see that they enlarge in the space and they just create almost double the size. And that is just really cool. And you can see that this room itself is just really for improvisation. It has a hammock to relax or to think up of some new ideas. You can just see that this is just the source of creativity for an artist. So this is another solution, and we can see that here we just have these unique stairs. The first two steps are attached to the floor, while the third step and all of the rest are actually hanging down from the ceiling. Come with me. And this is the entrance into the bedroom. And you can see that something as boring as a white step of stairs can be turned into its own little unexpected moment of design. And that is because the stairs are built from the top down. It just makes the stairs appear to be floating. Another little detail that I love, and this is why I'm sitting here right now, is the fact that here we can actually see the entire construction. And you could have covered this up, but this is just, again, a little element of the unexpected. So this is the master bedroom. The architecture around me is completely kept in white, and that is to just not take away the attention. We are basically in a split level that has been built into the top of this room. So we kind of have the small gallery situation where we can just look down, and it just makes the space feel much more larger. And originally the ceiling ended here, and it wasn't a proper bedroom, but at some point, for some reason, the city decided to reconstruct the roof, and the photographer just convinced them to just create this little arch for him. So this is now where we have a beautiful skylight above me, and we just have this incredible natural lighting, and it's just a dream fairy tale of a bedroom. Over here is the bed. Like the rest of the room, it is kept fully in white, and you just have this lush white of the blanket, of the pillows, or of the baldachin that generously drapes itself around the bed. The only thing that adds a pop of color here are the furniture items that are standing inside the room. We have a very old vintage radio that has again been used as a bedside table. Or over here we have yet again a pop of color with a green plant that stays green throughout the year. And my favorite is again the orange accent, and we just have this extraordinary, deeply colored orange armchair. And it just has this very 70s vintage shape. And you see that this orange armchair would be completely lost in a completely colorful room, but because the space is so white, it just adds this incredible pop. Now let me show you the walk-in closet. So behind this door is the walk-in closet, and if we have a look, we can see that there's a lot of space, and we can actually see the end of the roof where all of the weight of the roof is being held, and that is this beam and the beam right over here. And here we just have a generous closet for storing all of your clothes. Another little fairy tale moment is this beautiful artwork of a lamp, and it consists of white round pieces of shell, and if you touch them, they create this absolute magical sound. Let me know which room was your favorite in the comments, and if you want to see another incredible transformation of a historic villa that has been turned into a modern yet authentic and historic hi-fi studio, go check out the video above. If you liked the video, I hope to subscribe, and as always, I hope to see you next week.